everybody, Tammy here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to this video, which is part of a series that my sister Tapping Flamingo and I have put together for a virtual Blythe retreat taster, and the theme is Mardi Gras. So you're going to find some videos on her, both of her YouTube channels, Tapping Flamingo, aka the Bohemian Hippie. You'll find some videos over there about some jewelry to make for these dollies. And then on her Be Creative with Terry Jeanette, you will find some other videos related to crafting for our Blythe dolls for this VBR Mardi Gras taster. So I have Zanya Remembers with me right now. She's modeling the dress that I'm about to show you how to make. She also has a really cute pair of earrings on that my sister made. You can see the fleur-de-lis there, which is, you know, a symbol of Mardi Gras. In fact, Terry gave me this fabric, which is super cute. But I'm going to show you how to make this super easy, basic Blythe doll dress. If you've never sewn for Blythe, or if you just are interested anyway, I have a playlist on my Peacecraft Dolls channel, and it's called Blythe Sewing Basics, and I go over a lot of the basics about sewing for these cute 1/6 scale dolls. This is part one of a two-part video. In this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to make this dress. And then in the second part, I'm going to show you some ideas for jazzing it up, embellishing it, making it your own, ways to alter and vary the actual basic dress pattern. You can either use your sewing machine, which I plan to do on most of it, or you can sew all of this by hand. Very, very simple, straight seams, and sew on a snap and some straps, and really, really simple. And I will get you started next. All right, Zanya and I have moved over to the ironing board. I do recommend ironing pieces as you go. It is not 100% necessary, but I have found it very useful to iron anything that I have to fold over or that kind of thing. It's just a step that I take almost all the time when I'm sewing, and it does make things a little bit easier in my personal opinion, but it's not 100% necessary if you're not into, you know, taking that extra step. But what you're going to need to make this little dress, obviously you're going to need some fabric, and I have some cotton fabric here. You could use pretty much any type of fabric. I'm using cotton, like I said, because I have a lot of it. Okay, but you could use some kind of silky fabric. I would say the only fabric that probably might give you a little, I don't know, say trouble, but it might be a little bit more challenging to use is anything stretchy. This pattern is not really made for stretchy fabric. Not that it couldn't be done, just saying it's probably the easiest thing to use, especially if you're making this for the first time. Just get some good old cotton fabric. And I have one piece here that is 12 inches by 6 inches, a big long rectangle, okay? And then I have another piece here that is 2 inches by 4 inches, a smaller rectangle. I find it easier if I'm going to be making more than one of these dresses. I went ahead and cut out a 2 by 4 inch piece of paper to cut the tops out. But obviously, as long as you have a ruler, okay, you can, you know, measure those pieces. So again, 2 by 4. And then the skirt is 6 by 12. All right, so other things you're going to need are obviously basic sewing notions like scissors, pins, thread to match your fabric. I also recommend this, I really like using these little fabric markers. They're water soluble, so if you put water on it afterwards, it goes away. I'm a Fray check person. I do like to finish the edges of my clothing, and I actually use it on the top, okay? So after I cut it out, I'll put it on some foil, okay? So foil, a little piece of foil is handy. And I will just tell you I'm going to do this. I won't show you on camera because it's pretty easy, but you're going to go all the way around, take the lid off, obviously, and go all the way around this, and then set it aside, let it dry. It usually takes a good 10 minutes for me. I live in a humid climate. And for the bottom part, you could also use Fray check if you want to, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I've just been personally doing a zigzag stitch all the way around the rectangle, okay? Another thing you're going to need is some ribbon. You can see the straps on her dress. I just used some ribbon. And this ribbon that I used is 100% polyester, 3 by 16 inches. That is 3/16 of an inch, sorry, 5 millimeters. You're going to need 2 inches of this, okay? You may not use all of it, but it's easier to have a little bit extra than to not have enough. So about 2 inches each way. Now, Zanya is on she's a stock doll, so she is on a traditional body. Obviously, there are also dolls that come on the A-Zone bodies, and in part 2, I will show you some of the A-Zone dolls that I have in different dresses. This does work for both the A-Zone. I would probably say, any of these 1/6 scale. Probably you could even try Barbie, but the trick is the straps for the most part. In fact, let me get an A-Zone body over here to show you what I'm talking about. So here are 2 typical doll bodies, all right? This one is the traditional standard body that the Takara dolls or the Good Smile Company dolls typically come on, okay? This is a knockoff, but I use it as a mannequin. Sometimes it's handy for sewing. And you can see the arms here. There's not a lot of room underneath the armpits, okay? So when you're sewing and you have a top, you can see like her armpits right under there almost goes directly across to the tip of her tatas, okay? So there's not a lot of space there. However, the A-Zone bodies, and this one is a standard size A-Zone bod, they come in extra small as well, which just means the tatas are smaller. But if I flip her over and put her arm up, you can see there's much more room. There's room here. So in fact, let me put these guys together. You can see what I'm talking about here. Okay. All right. So besides that, this doll is got a larger chest too. So keep this in mind when you're sewing and you're using this pattern, particularly when you go onto the end and you're attaching the ribbon that becomes the straps. You might have to, move it in a different place, okay? And you want to just make sure that they fit and everything. But let me get Zanya back over here. She's on a traditional body. Let me move her arm up. It works fine, but I had to adjust the straps a little bit for her as far as length. I would say you probably, instead of almost the whole 2 inches, you probably need maybe about a ½ inch less, but go ahead and cut 2 inches, and there's just going to be extra fabric down here. Let me show you. See how there's extra fabric down there? So I would recommend, especially the first time you make something like this, is before you stitch it, you can still see I have to, I need to put some water on there to get rid of that mark from my pen. But before you stitch these on the back, you want to make sure that I would pin them and then try them on your doll, okay? And then then adjust it as necessary and then stitch the back. So it's kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I know people have different size doll bodies with these type of dolls, with the Blythe dolls. There's also the Lika doll, so that's a whole nother body. Here's a Lika. I put her arm. No, she's got actually quite a bit of space. So she's more similar to the A-Zone as far as space under the arms. All right. So it's this gal. That's going to give you a little bit more. You're going to have to be a little bit more careful when you're attaching the straps to make sure that it fits. Otherwise, if the straps aren't long enough, obviously this is going to go way down here. And you want her to cover up, right? So anyway, something to keep in mind as you're sewing before you finalize and stitch on the straps. So that might be a little bit more than you needed to know, but just wanted to put this out there. Let's get stitching. All right, I've already put fray check on this. Kind of got a boo-boo there, but that'll be fine. I've cut out both my pieces of ribbon, and I have a little petal of fray check here, and I am coating the ends of both pieces of ribbon, and this is really a must-do. If you don't have fray check, you could probably use like glue, Elmer's glue or something like that. I've already done this one, but basically you just want to touch it on there because it does stain the ends, so you don't want it in the middle, okay? So fray check is important because this ribbon will fray over time if you don't have some fray check on it. Guaranteed. Okay. And there's other things you can use besides ribbon for the straps. But anyway, so I'm going to wait for this to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to zigzag all the way around this skirt of the dress. All right, I did a zigzag stitch all around this, and I turned my iron on and I went ahead and turned over 1/4 of an inch on one end of the fabric and pressed it here, and then did the same with the top. So this is the skirt and this is the top, 1/4 of an inch. Measured about 1/4 of an inch and pressed it. And now I'm just going to go to my sewing machine. You could pin this if you want, but I feel like it's pressed fairly well and I don't need to put any pins in. And I'm just going to straight stitch down from here all the way to the end, and from here all the way to the end, just straight stitch. Before I move on, I thought I should mention, and I have Zanya here to give you an example, I'm just using plain fabric here as a way to make it easier for you guys, hopefully, to see what I'm doing. Okay. But if your fabric has a pattern on it, like this, it's not just solid color, and make sure that if there's a top and a bottom, that you've orientated the hem correctly, because this is the hem of the skirt. This is going to attach to the top. All right, so like this fabric here, if I didn't do this correctly, this would be upside down. Okay, so I was careful. Same with the fleur-de-lis. And here, there's no top and bottom, but I wanted my fleur-de-lises going up. And so when I folded this over here, I made sure that this is orientated that way. So this is the top. I'm not going to stitch anything here for a while. So just make sure that, you know, like I said, everything's orientated correctly if you have fabric that has a clear top and bottom on the pattern of your fabric. All right, I have finished sewing the hem on the skirt part, and then this is the top part, and I sewed the top of the top part, okay? And at this point, I'm going to do, again, fold over and get my iron hot and fold over 1/4 of an inch on each side, okay? 1/4 of an inch, press it down. I'll use a little pin here just to give you an idea, but honestly, if let's see, if my iron's still a little hot. So I've just fold over 1/4 of an inch on each side of the top rectangle. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and straight stitch on both sides of the top. And then I'm going to, while I'm over there, change the stitching on my sewing machine to basting, which is a wider stitch. So if you're doing this by hand, you would just make a wider stitch and baste all the way across the skirt. Okay, so I'm going to go back and, like I said, get on my sewing machine and straight stitch down here and baste stitch all the way across, and then I will be back. All right, I'm back from sewing up both sides. You can see this side actually did pretty well. This side I got kind of caught in my machine, and I didn't do something that I typically do because I was just like spacing out, but I usually will take a little piece of tissue paper, you know, just like rip off a little piece for small things like this, because it helps give it a little bit of traction and it keeps it from getting sucked down into underneath your sewing machine there, in the bobbin area. And it's okay. I mean, if I was going to be super picky, like obviously this is something I would not sell, but if I were going to be super picky, I would take this out and stitch it again. But I'm moving on. I am moving on. So this has been sewn at the top and the sides, 1/4 of an inch. Set that aside. And now we have the skirt that I did a basting stitch on. This is also 1/4 of an inch. I have the big old long strings on each side, and I'm going to pull them to make a gather. Pull it on one side and just push it down. Pull it on the other side, if I can find it. Pull it and push it down. And just take a few minutes and gather it up here and try to make it as even as possible. So now we have the skirt, and I've gathered it up. I need to kind of mess with it a little bit more to try to make sure my gathers are fairly even. And then we have the top. So this is the back of it. This is the front of it. This is the back of this. This is the front of it. It's going to be a lot more obvious if you have fabric that has a pattern, obviously. But I am going to place right sides together, front to front, okay? And I'm going to fold over. I like to fold over the sides about 1/4 inch and then place the end of the top rectangle against that edge right there. Get my pins over here and pin one end. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Oops. Oopsie. There we go. Same thing on the other side. Okay, again, I have it lined up here on the fold and pin it. And now you just kind of pull it and push out the gathers so that it is lined up with the top as much as possible. And add a few pins. And just take time to make sure that it is as even as you possibly can make it. Hopefully I'm in camera there. It's very challenging to watch what you're doing and watch the camera at the same time. Now, probably off camera, I think I'm going to mess with this a little bit more. Yeah, I want to get it a little, because you can see I have a lot of gathers here and not as many here. So I'm going to mess with this and push it down a little bit off camera. And then once I get it how I want it, you can see here's the one side, here's the other side. I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way down. This is already 1/4 inch, so if I just follow this thread here that I used to gather, I'm pretty much good to go. All right, I finished stitching the top to the skirt, and before we stitch it up, we need to get these straps on. So I recommend you're going to need a ruler, and you're going to find the middle of the top. Another way to find the middle is really easily, though, is just fold it in half, take a pin, and mark it there. So that is the center. All right. That is my center. All right. And then from the center out, measure over about 1/2 inch, and that's where the first strap is going to go, right about there. And pin it on. And it doesn't have to be perfectly set. Your 2 inches of this ribbon is more than enough. So you're going to pin it on. And same with the other side, 1/2 inch over from the center, and place it right there. Pin it on, and then hand stitch or seam, or you can use your sewing machine. This is where I find it easier to hand stitch. It's just quicker for me, and sometimes if I go back to my sewing machine, this is so small, it can still kind of eat it up a little bit. Again, if you use tissue paper, that can be helpful. But I'm going to hand stitch here and hand stitch there. So basically, your straps are about 1 inch apart. All right, I've hand stitched on the straps. There you go, that's the front, here's the back. The next thing I need to do is fold over the ribbon and attach the other end here to make this, to finish off the straps, okay? This is going to be, you're going to place the other end of the ribbon about 1/2 inch from the edge and stitch it on. And just FYI, here's the inside of it finished. Here's that dress that Zanya was wearing previously. And you can see I have quite a bit of extra down here. She is on the traditional body, so it's a bit smaller. That is about 1/2 inch right there. But like I said, I suggest that's a little less than 1/2 inch. I suggest pinning this down and putting it on the doll just to give a little rough estimate of where it's at, because once you stitch these down, you don't want to have to take them off and redo them. Trust me, that is not fun. So I'm actually going to use Malibu for the model on this dress, and she's on the larger jointed body. So that has more room under the armpits, if you remember. So yeah, let me measure over here. Like I said, 1/2 inch. In fact, I'll put a little pin there to give you just a visual guide here. So that's a 1/2 inch from the edge. Flip it over like that. Okay, and I'm going to take my pin out and go down a little bit. Okay. I'm going to do it on the other side, and then I'm going to try it on her. I'll show you what it looks like on her with the pins on here in a sec. Right, I have them pinned on. Let's see how this is going to look on her. Looking promising. Yeah, I think these are going to work. And then, of course, at some point, I am going to put a snap, or you could put Velcro back here if you prefer Velcro, and close that up. But that's a little bit further away. So you can see, I feel like the straps are in a good spot for her. And so, like I did before, I'm going to hand stitch the other end. I'm going to get my needle and thread out and hand stitch right here and right here. All right, both of the straps are stitched on. And just to triple check before I go on to the next step, we are almost finished as far as the basic dress goes. And again, don't forget, this is part 1 of 2 videos. The second video, I'm going to show you ways to alter this. Look how cute. She is adorable. Look at this. You know, it's funny because I got this fabric thinking it's really plain, but it will be good for, you know, just demonstration, but it's really kind of cute like this. All right, so you can see this fits her well. So the next thing I'm going to do, and honestly, at this point, if you wanted to, this is a your choice kind of thing here. If I'm going to stitch up part of this, but if you wanted to, you could put some snaps or Velcro down here, and then make this whole thing, you know, go over like that and finish it like that. I'm going to stitch it up a little bit. So I'm going to fold it over like this. And pin it together. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. And leave about, I'd say like a little over an inch or so. Yeah, it's about an inch. Leave an inch or so there, not stitched up. You're just stitching up part of the way. And you can see one way I folded over these. Remember when I folded these over when I attached the skirt and the top? This way, it'll sort of fold on you when you stitch this up, and it'll kind of cover her hiney in the back. But I'm going to just do a straight stitch down here all the way up to here. You could add multiple snaps, or like I said, if you don't want to stitch it up here, you could add Velcro all the way down, or a couple snaps all the way down. Whatever works for you. Honestly, probably 2 snaps would be perfection. And then I'll show you the finished dress on Malibu. All right, I've stitched on my snaps, and just for the heck of it, I tried it on Zanya. Remember, she has the traditional body, okay? And actually, it fits her fine, okay? I put a snap right here and a snap down here. Again, you could do Velcro. If you're not into sewing the snaps on, they do take a little bit of time. But yeah, this is the end of this basic dress, long dress tutorial. And I will create another video, a separate one, part 2, where I'm going to show you some ideas and just give you some suggestions about how to alter this and jazz it up and make it your own. Thank you for spending a little dolly time with me. Please give this a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, remember there's a number of videos that are part of this virtual Blythe Retreat taster for our theme Mardi Gras. Some of the videos are going to be on this channel, Peacecraft Dolls. Some are going to be on Tapping Flamingo, aka the Bohemian Hippie channel. And some are going to be on Be Creative with Terry Jeanette. All of them are going to be linked in our Facebook group, Blythe Doll Buddies. I'll have links down below so you can make sure, in case you just stumble onto this and you haven't caught the other videos, that you can catch up. And yeah, like I said, there's also going to be part 2 to this video. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.